Most of us default to the belief that the greatest threats to our status are visible enemies. We fear aggressive competitors, guard against public criticism, and brace ourselves for heated confrontations. Yet the truth of decline is far more ruthless and quiet. Your power, respect, or influence is rarely snatched away in a loud argument. Instead, it slips through your fingers smoothly, dissolving in moments you carelessly deemed harmless. It happens the very second you react too quickly to a provocation. It is when you vent your internal chaos just to trade it for a sliver of fragile sympathy. Every time an emotional boundary is loosened without self-control, you inadvertently expose your jugular, handing others a detailed map to manipulate your mind. The world's perception of you is not shaped by what you proclaim in times of peace, but by the gaps you reveal when facing the storm. The Stoic Fortress. The Stoic philosophers of thousands of years ago saw through this invisible trap. They realized that absolute strength lies not in how loudly you roar, but in how much you hold back. Stillness is not an absence of emotion or a forced mask. It is an impenetrable fortress. It is a quiet, cold advantage that renders you untouchable and ungraspable to the world. It is the art of selectivity, knowing exactly when to reveal and when to shut the door. If you are seeking a path to forge that silent power, to turn your mind into a sharp jade rather than a fragile shard of glass, you are on the right track. And if you are truly serious about this journey, subscribe and walk alongside Stoic Journey. Because sometimes a like, a share, or a comment is more than just engagement. It is a silent vow. From today, you choose discipline over impulse and mastery over reaction. The illusion of sincerity. But between understanding philosophy and living it, there lies an invisible abyss. What matters is not knowing what is right, but having the presence of mind to remain silent at the critical moment. And here is the question that should startle you. What truly happens in the psyche of those across from you when you rush to speak, when you expose a wound that hasn't even begun to scar? There is a dangerous illusion that humanity feeds itself under the beautiful name of sincerity. And it is this very illusion that is silently stripping away your authority more coldly and thoroughly than any enemy you have ever feared. Part 1. The illusion of strength and silent missteps. You carry a burden of undigested emotion, a spark of resentment from the workplace or a relationship, and almost instantly you seek to vent. You believe this openness will foster understanding and connection. In reality, it may be the very moment you voluntarily hand over the key to your own status. Power rarely vanishes in loud outbursts or heated confrontations. It evaporates in the exact second you expose your instability through a sharp breath, an unsteady tone, or a long-winded explanation meant to bury your inner insecurity. When cornered in a negotiation or questioned unexpectedly in public, human instinct screams for self-defense. The words that rush out may wear the mask of logic, but what remains in the eyes of the observer is the mark of a disorganized mind. You think you are proving transparency or competence. However, people don't just hear what you say. They silently decode what you accidentally reveal. They note every slight hesitation, every averted gaze, every desperate reach for approval, and quietly assemble a map of your weaknesses. In those moments, so-called sincerity becomes a fatal flaw. A raw confession made while the mind is still in a storm does not create authority. It creates a predictable human being. And on any chessboard of life, the predictable one is always the easiest to lead. The Stoic lesson. The Stoic philosophers have long viewed composure as an invisible fortress, a cold boundary capable of extinguishing any intent to overstep. The core lesson here does not ask you to become an emotionless machine. It simply demands that you master the art of delayed response. When crisis hits, instead of immediately bristling or exposing your wounds, anchor your stillness within. Let the rage or insecurity collide inside your mind until they settle and crystallize into clarity. True presence only emerges when you speak with the posture of one who has mastered the narrative,
not a victim swallowed by emotion.
The world does not judge you by what you silently endure, but by how you control the pulse of chaos. Once you understand that every rushed reaction is a surrender of autonomy, you will view provocation through a different lens. You will realize that the sharpest weapon never lies in an outburst at the peak of a climax. What truly forces others to recoil, to question, and to feel uneasy is a void of silence that rises exactly when they expect you to lose control. From here, you will understand why what people call sincerity is often not strength. It is merely a form of surrender presented in beautiful words. Part 2. The power of silence and emotional restraint. The illusion of sincerity often pushes people into a subtle trap, the craving to speak immediately when the storm hits. Yet the silence that exists between an event and your response is the boundary that defines who is the master of the situation and who is being led. When a brutal criticism is hurled at you in a tense meeting, or when trust in a relationship is trampled, your primal instinct urges you to strike back, to explain, or to seek empathy. But words uttered while the mind is still unformed carry no wisdom. They carry a cry for help disguised as reasoning. Others, for the most part, are not listening to understand you. They are observing your wavering tone, your shallow breath, your shifting eyes, and the hesitations you cannot control. From these tiny signals, they begin to learn exactly how far they can push you. The art of the void. Restraining emotion is not about bracing yourself to hide weakness. It is the art of creating a dead silence between experience and expression. When you keep the panic inside rather than throwing it out, you are doing something profoundly powerful. You are refusing to let your emotions represent who you are. Let the silence stretch for a few more breaths. In that cold, still gap, the advantage begins to shift. The one who provoked you loses the friction to hold on to. They lose the reaction they expected and are forced to stumble within their own behavior. A person who rushes to expose their pain becomes predictable. But a person who compresses their reaction until the chaos settles into coherence becomes hauntingly unpredictable. The sharpest edge of Stoic self-control lies in intentional delay. The same resentment, if spoken after passing through the filter of reason, becomes a position of weight. But if exposed in the heart of an emotional storm, it is merely a confession that you are still dependent on the reactions of others. The principle to remember is this: never grant anyone the privilege of seeing your inner chaos before it has been organized. Mastering the rhythm of silence is how you disarm your opponent, forcing them to slow down, be wary, and adjust themselves in the face of your presence. But remaining silent is only half the art of perception control. A more dangerous mistake follows: the moment you decide to speak. Many do not lose their power when attacked. They lose it in the effort of explaining too much, too soon, and too earnestly. It is there that a naive belief betrays them, the belief that the world operates on fairness, and that if they are only sincere enough, others will see their true value. But life has never been that simple. Part 3. The trap of over-explaining and the fairness myth. There is a naive belief that most of us carry like an invisible burden, the conviction that the world operates on fairness. You give your all at work and expect a just reward. You take a step back in a relationship and hope the other person reciprocates with the same kindness. But reality is often much colder. People rarely respond to ideals. They respond to incentives, emotions, and their own agendas. The moment this illusion of reciprocity is shattered, an instinctive reaction rises within you. A furrowed brow, a heavy breath, a tone of resentment just sharp enough to betray your breaking point. These micro-reactions, seemingly small, inadvertently expose your most vulnerable spots. The more you demand the world return what you think you deserve through your own moral lens, the more power you grant the external world to agitate your inner peace. But disappointment is not the only snare. It often drags you into a subtler trap, the craving to be understood through over-explaining. Recall the last time you said no or tried to set a boundary. You likely didn't stop at a clear answer. You layered on justifications, added excuses, and made desperate efforts to soften the air just to ensure the other person wouldn't think poorly of you. You thought this was being reasonable and considerate. To a sophisticated observer, however, an excess of words is merely an echo of insecurity. Every added explanation is a gap through which others can renegotiate your decision, dismantle your boundaries, and silently erode your self-certainty. Power is never built on lengthy justifications. It is maintained by decisiveness, by the calm rhythm of a person who does not ask for permission to stand their ground. The Stoic presence. Marcus Aurelius left a brief but chilling reminder. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. This spirit applies to every effort to preserve your status.
The lesson is not to learn how to speak more eloquently to be accepted, but to strip your language down to the absolute essential and abandon the need for immediate fairness. Stop providing free data about your fears, your uncertainties, and your need for approval through your explanations. When you sever the need to explain everything, you also cut off the perceived right others think they have to judge or manipulate you. Intentional brevity does not create a void of weakness. It creates a depth so vast that others must hesitate before stepping too far. Part 4. The art of reframing, turning weakness into leverage. Humiliation, if mishandled, easily becomes a silent sentence against your status. The human mind is naturally lazy. It seeks quick labels to frame and value others. When you blur out a confession to a colleague or partner in a hesitant tone, "I'm actually really bad at this," you aren't just admitting a flaw, you are inadvertently turning it into a definition. From that moment, others view that weakness as a fixed limit rather than a fluid state. Trust quietly retreats, expectations drop, and their behavior toward you shifts toward caution and prevention. But resilient minds never allow their shortcomings to be defined that way. They master a sharp art, the art of reframing. When facing a situation beyond their current capacity or a skill yet to be perfected, they do not bow down and confirm helplessness as an inherent trait. They change the name of the problem. Simply shifting from a self-deprecating, "I'm bad at this," to a sober, "I am currently refining this area," changes the entire psychological landscape. Both acknowledge a gap, but the second structure does not signal surrender. It signals self-mastery, the capacity for growth, and a person who still holds the reins of their own evolution. The language of authority. The distance between the weak and the powerful often lies in a single phrasing. It is not the existence of a flaw that decides how others perceive you. It is the composure you maintain while speaking of it. An admission delivered with a steady, calm tone, free of self-condemnation, no longer looks like a wound. it becomes a sign of inner strength. The listener no longer sees an individual struggling to be excused. They see a person mature enough to identify their limits without letting those limits dictate their identity. Framing your deficiencies with intentional language is how you strip the crowd of their right to superficial judgment. It is how you turn a crack into a pivot point for growth, rather than an excuse for others to diminish you. But no matter how sharp your words, they are still only the outer layer of control. What truly decides who can enter your inner world, who has the right to touch your energy, your time, and your presence, lies at a much deeper level. It is the art of defining boundaries. And it is there that silent power begins to take its coldest, most formidable shape. Part 5. The layered access strategy and active observation. Exposure is not just about what you say. It's about how you open the doors to your inner world. Many fall into the trap of prematurely venting their deepest anxieties and private struggles, whether with a new partner or a budding professional relationship, believing this rapid disclosure creates a bond. They trade their time, attention, and personal trauma as the price for a sense of intimacy. In most cases, this is merely an illusion of depth. When you surrender what should be protected too early, you don't build credibility or true connection. You simply hand over a map to your most vulnerable regions before the other person is proven they are worthy of the key. Self-mastered individuals never operate this way. They move by a silent but sharp principle: layered access. To them, personal information, deep emotions, and the fragile parts of the psyche are not broadcasted on a whim. These are privileges granted gradually over time, only after the other person has demonstrated consistency, respect, and reliability. This selective disclosure doesn't make you fake. On the contrary, it gives your presence weight. It forces others to realize that you are not a person so starved for understanding that you'll fling every door wide open. You know the value of your inner world, and therefore, you do not grant access to it carelessly. The power of the observer. In the silences where you refuse to over-reveal, another faculty is activated: active observation. When you pull back instead of reacting, reality begins to reveal itself more clearly. Faced with an unreasonable demand or sudden pressure at work, if you do not rush to resist, you gain the chance to see what impulsive reactions always miss. You will notice the impatience in the other person's rhythm, measure the motives hidden behind soft words, and spot the inconsistencies in their behavior. Observation in this sense is not passive. It is a form of taking power through awareness. Because the one who reacts first reveals themselves first. But the one still enough to observe will always be the one who understands the game sooner. Part 6. Self-mastery as the foundation of presence. That ultimate boundary, the one that decides whether you are the master of the game or a pawn swept away by circumstance, is self-mastery. True power has never been determined by aggression, superior intellect, or loud displays. It lies in a silent, absolute principle. Your strength is proportional to what you can control, preserve, and refuse to give away cheaply. Epictetus left a chillingly profound reminder. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you stop trying to manipulate how others think of you and turn inward to master how you respond, you are laying the foundation of an inviolable inner strength. Consider a tense negotiation or a fracture in a deep relationship. The weak party is usually the first to betray their instability through excessive explanations or uncontrolled impulses. In that very effort to defend themselves, they inadvertently surrender their weapons and become readable, predictable, and easily led. Conversely, the person of authority rarely reacts immediately. They meet provocation with enough stillness that their emotions cannot represent who they are.
This silence is not submission. It is a form of sovereignty. It is the sophisticated management of inner boundaries. They understand that every pause before responding and every fragment of truth revealed only at the right moment is a silent yet heavy declaration of their status. The final standing. The core lesson here has the power to reshape your entire presence in life. Do not measure your strength by how much emotion you can display or how many truths you can tell about yourself. Measure it by what you can hold steady without losing yourself. Instead of rushing out to demand the world be fair, understanding, or gentle with your inner turmoil, take a step back. Observe deeper. Wait until the mind has filtered through the chaos and only what is truly worth saying remains. Self-mastery is the ultimate foundation of presence. Once you have anchored your mind in that stillness, external events can no longer easily manipulate you. Do not waste your vital energy trying to bend circumstances or begging for concessions from the outside world. Stand firm. Calmly draw your boundaries and maintain a presence that is sparse in words but heavy in impact. Then the time will come when you realize the proudest Stoic truth. When you truly master yourself, the world no longer forces you to stretch and warp to its chaos. The world itself must change its approach in the face of your presence. At the moment the doors of events beyond your control slam shut, the only thing remaining in your hands is how you respond. And that is exactly where true power begins. Let this be etched into your mind. The value of a human being is not measured by the volume of emotion or information they broadcast to the world, but by what they have the character to control and hold back. A steady presence, a composed demeanor, and carefully weighed actions are what forge lasting influence. This is your sharpest defense, shielding your mind from manipulation, superficial judgment, and every external attempt to intrude. Authority has never come from roaring to prove your existence. It is built in every instance you refuse to rush your reaction, in every pause long enough for emotion to settle, and in every word spoken only when the mind is truly clear. Real power does not born from fighting everything that happens to you. It is anchored from within, where you no longer allow circumstances to dictate your state of being. From that very foundation, your presence becomes a boundary that others can feel, but cannot easily cross. Therefore, do not continue to waste your vital energy trying to bend circumstances or begging the crowd to understand your inner turmoil. Stand firm, observe deeply, and only reveal yourself once you are certain of your intent. Because once you truly master your mind, the world outside will no longer find it easy to pull you off center. Your very stability will force everything around you to change its approach. If you wish to continue sharpening the blade of self-mastery and diving deeper into the art of silent power, click on one of the videos appearing on your screen. Thank you for walking alongside Stoic Journey. And above all, thank you for choosing to live a life that is wiser, steadier, and more truly your own.